What's good, everybody? Hope all is well. This is Zachary King from the Future is Female podcast, and I am here with the beautiful
Alicia Fag.
Alicia. How you doing today, sweetie?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm doing good. You look amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Real quick, can we get into your background? What got you here to this point? You know, your entrepreneurship. For those who don't know, this woman is a landlord. She is a entrepreneur. She is also a model. If you can't tell, look at the cheekbones. She is a actress. She is just an overall, let me just say badass. Like she is a overall, she does it all. And also, hold on. Before we go any further, let me just say this too, because this is probably the most important. She has a love for the community. Oh, she is an activist at heart.
Yes,
if you go into her Instagram, if you go into all her pages, you will see that she is truly a servant, and which is beautiful. So
thank you.
Please, let's just talk a little bit about that, okay?
Thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate that. Thank you. I feel seen. So what got me here, I'll start with my schooling. You know, my mother and my grandmother were huge advocates for education. They knew the importance of learning in institutionalized school and an accredited institution, so you can become who you are.
Got you.
So I got my degree in business administration from Temple University. Ironically, Ironically, I didn't study entrepreneurship. My entrepreneurship really comes from my uncle and my father, their influence as they were entrepreneurs in their lifetime. But what got me here, my background, my mother, my grandmother, working in retail after I graduated college, being recruited into the financial industry from Citizens Bank, pivoting over to Wells Fargo, eventually being an executive assistant. But while I was at Wells Fargo, I started buying real estate in 2013.
Wow.
Now I have my nonprofit, which is a public service corporation. And this is where my heart is, and I can use every aspect of my life here, the financial aspect, the business aspect, the relationship aspect by, working with people like yourself and different organizations throughout the city to ensure that the people around me have the motivation and positivity to do whatever their heart desires and meet their higher selves here and present.
Got you. Well, so much to unpack here. Oh my goodness. So much layers. But okay, so let me just go for one of the ones I know that a lot of people want to know about, and that is real estate. Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about your real estate, how you got into it, because you say you started in 2013.
Yes.
And so you got almost 10 years at this point. Well, it is over 10 years.
11 years.
Yeah, 11 years
ago.
In the game.
So I bought my first property in North Philadelphia. It was a duplex. And I want to take a step back because I want to tie it all together with my purpose. When I was in college at Temple University, I was there when I'm dating myself now, where the properties were very, very cheap. And my uncle would tell my mother, buy property out there. There's no reason for you paying for her tuition and room and board, and you can just buy a property. And she didn't listen. For whatever reason, whatever fear she had, she didn't listen. But what I did was I saw opportunity in the areas that were underserviced and underdeveloped. And I remember looking, it's like, okay, I see what he's saying. I saw my uncle build properties, fix them up. And I was like, you know what? I do want to do that.
Wow.
One of the things I remember John Street, the former mayor.
Shout out to John Street.
I
like John Street.
Yeah, no, he had
him.
A program called the Gift Property Program. I don't know if it started under his administration, but I do know that I was looking for property under his administration. So unfortunately, I don't know who I can properly give the credit to, but I'm going to give it to him today.
Right.
I remember looking for properties. You were to identify abandoned properties, go to the city hall and submit the address, and they would let us know if it was owned by a certain entity.
Right,
and if it was, it would be gifted to you. So I remember, jotting down all types of addresses, going down, and unfortunately I never got one.
Right.
Nevertheless, it continued the fire to source, obtain, and develop a property here in Philadelphia.
No, that's beautiful. And I also too, I remember them days.
Yeah.
I owned the hair salon way back when. And I remember when I owned it down at 12th and Ridge. It was 1217,
Oh,
I
wow.
think 1215 Ridge. It's where Ridge come into Spring Garden at. And I
Nice.
remember around that area, they was like, buy property, buy property.
Yeah.
And I slept. I truly slept at the wheel. I was kind of stressed thin already financially. And I'm disappointed at the fact that I didn't jump on those properties.
Yeah.
My brother, he jumped on them and he did very well for
Absolutely.
himself. So I'm grateful. He brought, he brought one right around that area from Cecil B. Moore, right around that area
Good.
as well. So I'm grateful the fact that, and with that being said, because your mother was the one that was like, nah, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Did you feel a sense of disloyalty when your mother was the one? Because I can imagine it's like I'm going against my mom for my uncle. And so, like, what was that like?
So it's funny that you said that, and I've made peace with this because I've actually attained some of my childhood goals. I remember going down a certain street and, I was like, Mom, I want to own a property on that street. And she was like, well, it's going to take a lot of money for you to fix it up. And at the time, I feel like I was in college, so, I was broke. And I don't, I don't come from a rich family. I come from
Humble
an
beginnings.
RN.
Right.
She's a registered nurse at University of Penn. A grandmother that, she worked for a program called the Foster Grandparent Program at the HMS school on Baltimore Avenue. I believe it's 43rd.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was an entrepreneur, but he was in and out of the picture. But when I heard her say that, it was just like, oh man, like I'm never gonna be able to do this. I'm like, it's too expensive.
Right. And
it was a deterrent at the time. But because I'm realizing at this moment still it's, self-confirmation. I'm supposed to be in real estate. I eventually, believe it or not, purchased a property on the exact same block that I told my mom that I wanted.
Ooh.
And she told me that it was too expensive.
That is big. That is big. That is
real.
huge. I hope the listener audience really took that jump in, because it's one thing for you to hear negativity from the outside world. But when it becomes from your parent, it's so easy to internalize that and become crippled by that.
Yes.
So for you to own that, it's like, and it's not no shot at mom, because
No,
I believe
and
that,
I was going to clarify that because
it's no shot at mom.
She wasn't lying.
No, she ain't. But let me put this out there. I think that the older people, they was just, it was very hard for them coming up. And what happens is the way they felt like they could protect us was for us to say, hey, don't go down that path, and kind of discourage it. But their delivery was so negative.
Oh, yeah.
It was like their delivery a lot of times was so negative. And I had to see that with my own mom. And I had to get to a place of forgiveness with that, because she would tell me some things that I'd be like, my mom is the biggest hater. She is nobody in there. And we got to talk freely about that. Part of the reason to having this platform is to have hard conversations, and for us to be able to be vulnerable and transparent. And so when I would hear that, especially growing up, it was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And sometimes that energy, it didn't always even manifest into anything positive, because it was like, it didn't even come from a good place. But I realized like she did that because that was her own brokenness and that was her own hurt. And she loved me, but she just needed to, it's rough. Like
it's an aspect of protection.
Right.
Because when I, at that time it was, debilitating, I will say.
Right.
But what I realized today and, years back is that she was telling the truth.
Right.
And whatever psychological aspect of myself took it as a negative, I took it as a negative when it was the truth. It's going to take a lot of money to fix it up.
Right.
Of course, as I developed my business plan and my exit strategies, my entry strategies, my, pivot mechanisms, it's okay for it to cost a lot of money. And, you know, like one of the things that I tell people all the time, they're like, I don't want to have debt. I don't want a debt. I'm like, it's not about having debt. It's about being able to manage your debt.
Okay.
You know, debt is a beautiful thing. Debt is a cushion. It's a springboard. Absolutely. Give me the debt as long as I can manage it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's the truth.
No. That's beautiful. And I love how you put in that, because we have to rethink things nowadays. Like, you know, I heard someone talk about this, and we could talk about him a little bit more, but they talked about Trump, you know, filing for bankruptcy. And for so many times, and it was like, no, that was actually a good thing. He protected his assets. It might look bad on paper, but in terms of protecting his money and his well-being, he needed to do that.
I'm going to say this, business decisions are very important, and to go down with a sinking ship is not the best course of action. We were taught that bankruptcy is negative. I think the idea is to not... I think the reason why we were taught that, and this is opinion, I rarely give opinions. So I'm like, oh my God, you're going to give an opinion? But I believe that we were taught that bankruptcy was bad to deter bad people from taking advantage of the laws that are put in place to protect us. Now, bankruptcy is a blanket of protection, so you can keep your personal assets as you go out and do your business ventures.
Right.
Because your business ventures, they're going to in turn hire people, stimulate the economy, because you're going to be buying all types of stuff, like all the equipment here. You're going to be bringing in other people. You're going to be spreading the word with platforms like the one that you have.
Right.
So there are certain benefits, also known as deductions, but that's another story, that comes with having a business.
Right.
But there are certain small rules that are kept as taboo, so people do not exploit the freedoms that we have here in this country.
That makes a lot of sense. Pivoting back a little bit, I want to talk. You talked about your father being in and out, right?
Yeah.
And you talked about how your
Shout
mother.
out to Derek, my brother.
Shout out to Derek. And then we also talked about how mom wasn't necessarily the most supportive early on, right?
So what I'll say is she was very supportive in terms of education. But she was apprehensive about entrepreneurship because she knows the reality.
Right.
The reality of the entrepreneurs is that you can die dead, like you can die broke.
Right.
You can lose all your assets. You can file for bankruptcy. And I was going to step back a little bit. If you don't file for bankruptcy, you can lose your house if you leverage the equity in your home to buy the business.
So, like, again, mom was just trying to protect you.
She was.
But the question I have with that is, the question I have with that is, let's talk to that little girl. Like, as the woman that you are right now, talking to that little girl, because I want other women who are also interested in getting into real estate, who might also have a mom who have a harsh delivery, who might also have a father who may not be supportive, or you get where I'm going? So how do we talk to that little girl and give her the confidence to say, I did it, you can too?
If I were able to talk to my younger self, I would continuously tell her to work on yourself and go for it. My father owned property in Philadelphia, and he didn't want to give me his problems. So I had to buy my own problems. It's okay. It is okay. Go for it. Still be that person that you are. Still do what you're called to do. You're going to have hardships. You're going to have setbacks. I'm in the process of processing a setback. And my setback for me is one for me where another person says, like, you're fine, you're doing amazing. And I'm like, well, this is not on track to the dream that I had.
Right.
So it's all a balancing act. But what I would say to anyone looking to do anything, it could be buying property, it could be literally going to the moon. Do it. Prepare yourself. Be ready, because you never know. You could be preparing yourself for years. And I'll give the example. I remember when I was pregnant, I would do deed searches before it was cool. And I'm dating myself again. My daughter was born in 2005. So I would do deed searches to see who owned the properties in the area, to see if they were selling and if I could buy their properties. And it was because, okay, I'll use this. Nothing was given to me.
Right.
But the education, I was always taught that anything can be taken from you that's physical, but your education, your mindset, and how you carry yourself, your image, can never be taken from you. You can give it away, but it can't be taken.
You dropped a lot of jewels.
Oh, thank you.
You dropped a lot of jewels. You dropped a lot of jewels. It's a lot to take away from that. So I appreciate that. Can we talk about a time where you might have felt like giving up? Can you felt like a time where you were like, this is too much? Maybe mama was right. And again, we're just using mom. We're not talking about her as a person. We're just talking about
my mom is very sensitive. So when she sees it, she can be like, you.
So watch my back. I get it. I get it. Watch my back and my front.
Shout out to mom.
Shout out to mom. I want no smoke, mom. I'm just trying to. Right. So, but yeah, talk to me about a time where things might not have been all good, where you had justifiable reasons to just give up.
It's been recent.
Okay.
It's funny because my Instagram name is Courtroom.
It is.
So it's more than my middle name, which is Courtney, and it's spelled CORT. It's literally going to court, back and forth, in landlord-tenant court, and having these ungrateful people, because I believe in affordable housing. It goes back to this whole servitude mindset. My goal when I got into real estate was not to become rich. It was to become stable, self-sufficient, so I can purchase my own freedom.
Right.
However, in the mix of looking out for people,
right,
they saw me as this person who was rich.
Right.
Which, and honestly, to this day, listen, the evolution of Alicia Fagg knows that if I had no asset right now, I am still rich because I am here on this earth and I have the ability to create my future.
No, that's true.
But on the same spectrum, when someone looks at you from the outside looking in and see what you have, you got this, they don't see the bills, they don't see the stress, they don't see the time away from your family, they don't see the time away from your children or bringing your children in to do the work.
Right.
They don't see the hard work that goes into it. They look, oh, you got this, you're fine. Right. Money is a currency. It's literally called currency. It's exchange of energy. It will come and it will leave you as fast as possible. Shout out
to the boy, All Money Shots. Vern always talked to me about staying in the flow of money.
Yeah,
always just staying in the flow of money. He's just like, yo, Zach, stay in the flow. There's gonna be some times where you're gonna be just, over sweat with money, and then there's gonna be times where you're gonna be like, man, we going through a famine right now. So
yes.
So no. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely 100% correct. And I do think that people do look at success and they try to romanticize it. Like, they see the entrepreneur journey and they're like, oh yeah, you're doing this. I don't want to work for nobody else because I could work for myself. And I don't got to go answer to them. And it's like, no, you got more people to answer to.
I tell people that all the time. And it just want to take a step back to Vern, like staying in the flow. Cash flow is a thing. It is an actual science to it. Having that cash flow is amazing. You balance your cash flow with your assets and your equity. But, yes, working for someone is a beautiful thing because they have something called benefits. Because when you work for yourself, you don't have any benefits.
That's
you actually got to
fact.
buy your own benefits. And,
that's a fact.
It's funny because I'm teeter-tottering back and forth because I realized that I've always had a 9-to-5. And that was the beauty of it because my entrepreneurship was the fallback. And then in entrepreneurship, steadfast, my degree is my fallback.
Right.
So it's funny that you say that because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to work for nobody. But yeah, your clients, you're working for 87,000 people.
Right.
Like what?
Right.
Oh, no. I don't want to work for somebody, so I want to work for everybody. I don't want to work a 9-to-5. I want to work 24/7. It's just like, okay, you're romanticizing entrepreneurship because it is a constant hustle. And the goal is freedom. entrepreneurship isn't necessarily freedom.
I totally get it, and I appreciate you breaking that down. In the same vein of entrepreneurship, you're a very attractive woman.
Oh,
you are
thank
a
you.
young woman. You are a Black woman.
Yeah.
Have that been a benefit, or that's been a curse?
Both.
Let's talk about it.
So the benefits of being a Black woman is you have the ability to influence people, and they see you do it. And you do it. Well, let's talk about me. And we're very weird about talking about me. So you unlocking the aspect of me. I'm going to do the robot real fast. But anyway, so with me, I love doing the work and seeing people, young people, older people, whoever, get influenced positively influenced positively. Positively. I can't even talk. I'm excited. Right. I'm excited. So when I see that, and coming from I was born and raised in Southwest Philadelphia.
Shout out to Southwest.
Shout out to Southwest.
Hold on. Can you do a Southwest no look? Okay, all right. It's a little, the Southwest no look is a little, you know what I'm saying? But it's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Southwest though.
I don't know how to do it though.
Right. All right. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, you taking my black card away. Let me go grab that.
Yeah, you can't go.
Listen. But the gift and the curse. So as a Black woman from Southwest Philadelphia, you hear, oh my God, ew, you're from Southwest, ew. No, I'm born and raised. I come from a good home. I come from a good block. I went to school here, college here, and anything that you want to do, you can achieve no matter where you're from. I don't need street cred. Who wants street cred? Oh yeah, I'm the dirtiest one. Oh, you're the dirtiest one? Yeah. No, I'm not trying to get down. I'm trying to get up. I'm trying to get free, and I'm trying to get into places and rooms that other people can't see because they can't, they're not possibly eloquent enough. They haven't learned that, or we have people out here who want it so bad, but they're overlooked for something stupid. So when I see that and I get in the room, my goal is to bring my people into the room or create another room, and then we can all grow and go up. That's what it's about.
No, I totally agree. And I'm listening to you, and you can't see me, but I'm nodding my head in full agreement. So I'm thankful for this. Let me ask you a question, because we talked about
can I talk about the curse part?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the curse is that there are people who see you and say that you're not real Black. I've been called an Oreo. I've been called, you use too many big words. I remember, I'll tell this story forever because it's real and it is my testimony. I had a manager in Wells Fargo. He was like, you use too many big words. You need to cut it back. This was in my my employee review. He had the nerve to tell me, you need to speak more succinctly. Succinctly is a word that I was never exposed to prior to that day.
I'm just being exposed to it. So.
Listen, succinctly is short and court, and he was speak succinctly. But you're telling me with this vocabulary word that I should speak down to people. And I never wanted to subscribe to that. Actually, I remember, and shout out to Wendy Massey. I'll never forget. I was coming out of my employee review, and she's like, Alicia, are you okay? What's wrong? How was your employee review? And I was like, well, he said that I need to talk, a little bit down to people.
Sure. Oh, so that's what succinctly means.
Succinctly
it means talking down to someone?
So yeah, instead of using big words, like, be shorter. Don't use your vocabulary. Basically kind of like
dumb yourself down. Water yourself down. And you know what? I want to speak on this too, because as a Black man, this really frustrates me a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like we will say, us as Black people, we're the most beautiful people in the world. We're this, we're that. But anytime somebody does something that's different or look different, we want to tear them down. You know, we want to call them white. And what are we really saying?
Well, can I interject? That is not we. That is them. You know, what I noticed in other communities, like especially since we're talking about white, since you mentioned white, I'm going to use that.
No, I'm talking about how we as Black folks tear each other down.
No, yeah, I'm tying it all in. So, my Caucasoid counterparts, what they're doing is they separate themselves from white and poor white trash. They do not claim Billy Bob, Joe, Billy, John.
Right.
You know, and I'm sorry, that may sound horrible. I'm using that example from King of the Hill, so it's not a specific person.
Right. Shout out to Hank. Shout out to Hank and the propane brothers out there.
We love propane, as long as it's not in our grill.
Right.
But, so they separate themselves. And I think that's where Black people should separate themselves from the economically negative individuals, the ones who bask in ignorance.
You know what? You're being very political about it, but I completely understand and I completely agree. It do come a time period because as a Black man, I know I had to get away from all that toxic ghetto behavior.
Yeah.
And you could call it whatever you want to call it, but because it's like it don't serve me none. It don't serve the people around me, and more importantly, it does not serve my future at all.
It don't.
And my little girl, she from Philly, but at an early age, she moved to North Carolina. Okay. And in North Carolina, she lives in a very affluent neighborhood. And when she come back to Philly, they say she talks white, you know, and that bothers me because it's like we're the only community that want to tear down our smartest. We want to tear down our I don't want to say nerves because I don't want to be disrespectful.
No, they want you.
We want to. If let's say a thug, a gangster, or she's twerking or something like that. And this is why platforms like this is so important because it's like I'm just doing my part to change that narrative.
Oh yeah.
To say, hey, listen,
it's an agenda.
We could be celebrated. We don't got to be doing that. We could get good numbers without having to do all that foolishness.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, talking white doesn't exist to me. Utilizing the English language and actually speaking English, it is speaking English. It's not talking white.
Right.
You know, this is the language of the land. If we were speaking in Spanish, I don't want to go to the barrio and speak broken Spanish either. I want to be able to communicate with decision makers.
Got you.
You know, so I was accused of talking white when I was a kid. You know, oh yeah, you talk white. No, I'm actually speaking English.
No, and I totally get that. And for anyone that is going through that, man, where you're feeling like you're not acceptable in your own community, I understand how that could be a very tough thing. But stay strong. Stay strong in your walk. Keep pushing on.
Keep that chin up.
Right, keep your chin up. Before we close, I want to just get a little bit about your nonprofit.
Oh yes,
how can people reach out to you? Alicia, sound like a Millie. All right, yeah, Alicia, right. What exactly do Alicia do?
So we work with businesses, nonprofits, and individuals that are looking to do philanthropic activities in community.
Right.
We partner with anyone that is looking to do great things. One of the identifiers I've noticed in my, it just as I go along my path is that people want to give back. They want to do great things, but they don't know how. They don't know who. There are organizations that put the majority of their income into marketing, into getting more people, attracting donations. But I want to make sure that the majority of any philanthropic activity goes to the people.
Right.
It's about the people, and it's not about politics. It's not about looking good. It's about being good. And this is something that I teach my daughter. I teach anybody around me. You can look good. It's a facade. The smoke and mirrors looks great. But what's under that makeup? What's under there? What's real? Like, do you have, something solid to do? Are you actually really giving back, or you look like you are?
No, that's a fact, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. And we're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for more businesses to work with. Community involvement is 100%. Please reach out, www.elition.org. Elition is a fictitious word that I created to speak about alignment. For me, the past participle, oh Lord, hopefully I'm correct with my English.
Right.
But for me, the past participle of being into alignment is elition. When you're in alignment with yourself, when you are no longer focusing on the past or the future, you are actually in the present, you are in elition. And that's where we do the most of the work.
Oh, man, I thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing your time, your effort, your energy.
Thank you.
Before we go, I want to just put this out here. This right here is our 20th episode. Right here. This is our 20th episode right here. So thank you so very much. This journey, for my entrepreneurial journey, haven't been easy. You know, coming out, asking women to volunteer their time and sit with me and actually dig up a few things that they may not want to talk about. But I just appreciate the fact that you sat here with me and just was able to talk. And my hope is that other women, you know, as a, you know, father to a 14-year-old, I'm hoping other little girls, but other women, just people, matter of fact, freak on it. People will go ahead and listen to this and feel inspired and will feel that their path just became a little bit more easier.
I hope so too. That is my goal in life. Yeah, listen, the road is long if you are blessed. And if it's not, it's about living in the moment. Whatever time that we have to utilize it to our highest capacity and cater to our highest self.
With that being said, this is the Future is Female podcast, and we're out.